In the world of AI frameworks, it feels like one name is just everywhere. But way before LangChain became the go-to generalist tool, another framework was quietly pioneering the future of AI-powered search. That tool is Haystack. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why this specialist framework might just be the most important tool you're not using yet.
So, let's say you're building an AI application. Your first instinct, like for so many of us, is to reach for a tool that can do a little bit of everything. But as your project gets more serious, as you start thinking about going to production, you have to ask yourself a really critical question. Is a tool that does everything just okay really what you need?
And yeah, that brings us right to the core of what we're talking about today, the generalist versus the specialist. On one side, you've got frameworks like LangChain, which are amazing for a whole broad range of AI tasks. But on the other side, you have Haystack, which is absolutely laser-focused on one incredibly complex area, production-grade search and question answering.
Okay, so let's really get into it. What makes Haystack the specialist choice? We're going to dive deep into its unique architecture and the very specific problems it was built to solve. Problems that, frankly, can really trip up some of the more general frameworks.
First things first, what is Haystack exactly? Well, it's an open-source NLP framework that comes from a company called deepset, and it was built with a super clear mission to help developers like you and me build really robust, scalable, and production-ready search systems. We're talking about things like enterprise knowledge bases, complex document analysis tools, and those advanced retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, applications.
Now, I absolutely love this analogy because it just hits the nail on the head. A Swiss Army knife is awesome, right? It's super useful for all sorts of odd jobs. But if you're a professional chef and you're prepping a Michelin star meal, you're not reaching for a tiny corkscrew and a mini saw. No way. You want a perfectly balanced, razor-sharp chef's knife. Haystack, well, that's the chef's knife for search.
But why do we even need a specialized tool for this? I mean, what makes search so uniquely difficult? To really get why Haystack is so brilliant, we first have to appreciate the problem it was designed to solve.
Seriously, think about it for a second. It's one thing to build a quick demo that can search through, a few dozen documents. That's fun, but it is a completely different ballgame to build a system that has to reliably sift through millions of documents, handle tons of users at once, and return precise, accurate answers in milliseconds. That's a whole other level of hard.
And this slide, man, it just lays out the headaches perfectly. You've got to process massive volumes of documents, and they're always in different, messy formats. Your retrieval has to be incredibly efficient to find that one tiny needle in a gigantic haystack. And once you find a relevant document, you can't just throw a 10-page PDF at the user. You need to extract the exact answer. And then you have to stitch all of these steps together into a reliable pipeline that doesn't just fall over when you need it most.
So how in the world does Haystack handle all this complexity? The answer is its core architectural concept, the pipeline. And this, right here, is where the framework's real power and flexibility start to shine.
You can think of a Haystack pipeline as a sort of workflow, or maybe like an assembly line for data. It's a series of modular components, which Haystack calls nodes, and you connect them in a specific order. Your data flows in one end, gets processed by each node, and then the final answer comes out the other. The secret sauce is that every single one of these components is built and optimized specifically for search tasks.
Let's just walk through a really simple but super powerful example. First, you take all your documents and you ingest them into a special kind of database called a document store. Then, when a user asks a question, a retriever node zips through that document store to find the most relevant documents. Finally, those documents get passed to a reader node, which uses a powerful language model to actually read the text and pull out the precise answer. It's just a clean, logical, and incredibly effective flow.
And the beauty of this is its modularity. You can totally customize it. You can pick the right document store for your scale, whether it's something like Elasticsearch or a newer vector database. You can choose from different kinds of retrievers, keyword-based, vector-based, or even a hybrid of both. And you can plug in different transformer models to be your reader. You get to mix and match all these components to build the perfect pipeline for your exact needs.
So, this brings us to probably the most important question. When should you actually choose Haystack for your project? Understanding where it shines and where it doesn't is absolutely crucial for making the right call.
So here's the bottom line. You reach for Haystack when search isn't just a feature, but it's the absolute core of your application. If you're building a real production search system, if you need that granular control of your NLP pipeline, if performance and reliability are totally non-negotiable, especially in an enterprise setting, Haystack was literally designed for you from the ground up.
But let's be real, it's not for everything. If you're building a general AI app that kind of does a little bit of everything, something like LangChain is probably a better fit. If you're just doing a simple RAG project with a handful of documents, a tool like Llama Index might get you up and running faster. Haystack has a bit of a steeper learning curve, and that's on purpose. It's a specialist tool built for production-level challenges.
This comparison table just lays it all out in black and white, doesn't it? Look at how Haystack scores excellent on being production-ready and specialized on its search focus. LangChain is your generalist. Llama Index is more focused on documents, but it's not as pipeline native as Haystack. And sure, a custom solution gives you all the control, but at a huge cost. Haystack really lives in that sweet spot of production power and specialized focus.
And that really gets to the heart of it all. Haystack isn't trying to compete with LangChain on every front. It's a focused, professional-grade tool for a very specific and very difficult job, building world-class search and question-answering systems.
So let's just nail down the key takeaways. 1. Haystack is a specialized framework for production search. 2. It's ideal when reliability and scalability are your top priorities, especially in an enterprise setting. And 3. It is the focused, professional alternative you need when a generalist tool just isn't going to cut it for your search application. And that really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about. As you start planning your next AI project, just take a moment to really consider the core problem you're solving. Do you really need that Swiss Army knife with all its little attachments? Or is the job at hand so critical that it truly demands the precision and the power of a dedicated chef's knife?